Hey guys, in today's video, we're going to be seeing if Luffy fought the Straw Hats, would he win? Luffy is the captain of the Straw Hat Pirates and is by far the strongest member of the crew. However, all of the Straw Hats have had huge power-ups after the time skips, and members like Zoro and Sanji are very powerful on their own. Now, to answer the question if Luffy could take on his own crew, we have to figure out how strong everyone is. I'll start with Luffy, and then I'll end off with the crew. So for Luffy, let's start with his abilities first. Luffy has a human fruit model Nika, which allows him to turn into a sun god and gives him a rubber body. He could stretch his rubber body however he wants and change his surrounding into rubber. Luffy also has different forms he can enter with his gears. He has Gear 2nd, Gear 3rd, Gear 4th, and his awakening, Gear 5th. In Gear 2nd, he increases his blood flow by pumping his veins, which makes them extremely fast. In Gear 3rd, Luffy can increase the size of his limbs to send out massive punches and kicks. In the pre-time skip, these two forms wore Luffy out, and Gear 3rd even made Luffy small. But after the time skip, Luffy can use both these forms without any drawbacks, and he can even combine two of the forms to create a devastating combo attack. And also, with Gear 4th, Luffy gains 3 new additional forms. The first form is Gear 4th Boundman, which increases his attack power and speed several times. With Gear 4th Tankman, Luffy eats a bunch of food and becomes really big, which increases his durability by a lot, but decreases his mobility. And in Gear 4th Snakeman, Luffy drastically increases his attack speed, and he could change the direction of his attacks dozens of times to hit his target. Each change of direction increases his speed to the point where his enemies need Future Sight to escape his barrage of punches. In his Gear 4th forms, Luffy did have a 10-minute time limit, but in Elbaf, Luffy can use Gear 4th in his base. So I'm just gonna assume that, the time restraint is kind of removed, at least in his base. And last but not least is his latest form, Gear 5th, which is his awakening. In this form, Luffy could turn his surroundings into rubber and even give elements like fire and lightning rubber-like attributes. He could also float and run on the air. In addition to all that, Luffy could turn into a giant that's large enough to jump rope Kaido, and he can increase his fist to the size of an island. Luffy also has Toon Force-like abilities where he creates objects out of thin air to help him in his fights. So far, he created goggles and a paint bucket. Luffy also has a 10-minute time limit in Gear 5th, but he doesn't need to rely on it as much since he has other forms and Haki. Speaking of Haki, Luffy has all 3 types of Haki and their advanced versions. Luffy has Basic Observation Haki and Future Sight, which allows him to sense people's presence and look a few seconds into the future to avoid or dodge his enemies. Luffy also has Basic Armament Haki and the advanced version Reroll Haki, which allows him to cover his fists with an invisible coating that makes his attacks stronger and increases his durability. And his Reroll Haki allows him to bypass his enemies' natural defenses and hit them internally with his Haki. And last but not least, Luffy has Conqueror's Haki. Luffy not only has the basic version of Conqueror's Haki, but he also has the advanced version Conqueror's Haki Infusion. With regular Conqueror's Haki, Luffy can send out his willpower or spiritual energy that can knock out a bunch of weak enemies. Luffy himself was able to knock out 50,000 fishmen who are 10 times stronger than regular humans. And with his Conqueror's Haki Infusion, Luffy can hit his enemies internally with his willpower/spirit to cause massive damage without even touching them. Conqueror's Haki Infusion also requires less Haki energy than regular Armament Haki and is powerful enough to split the sky with its shockwaves alone. With Luffy's abilities out of the way, let's see how strong Luffy is in terms of power. And in terms of power, Luffy is moon level to possibly small planet level in AP. Luffy was not only fighting Kaido evenly on the rooftop, but he was able to overpower him with his Bajran gun attack. This is the same Kaido who was casually lifting an island hundreds of meters into the sky and vaporizing mountaintops while he's drunk. Kaido also could be scaled to Old Whitebeard, who was stated to be able to destroy the world and was causing earthquakes and tsunamis all over the One Piece planet. Luffy's Bajran gun was also calculated at 13.8 exitons of TNT, which is multi-continental, and in Elbaf, there are multiple statements that Sun God Nika destroyed the world 2 times over. It's not 100% stated how he did it, so I'm not going to place him at planet level, but I'm going to place Luffy at moon level just to be safe. Next up is Luffy's speed. In terms of speed, Luffy is massively faster than light to massively faster than light plus. Luffy, since the beginning of the time skip, was dodging light beams from pacifistas and calling them slow. And before you guys even say the light beams aren't actually light, yes they are. It has been stated multiple times that they are light beams and that Dr. Vegapunk created them using Kizaru's devil fruit, and as we've seen in Egghead Island, Dr. Vegapunk can make exact copies of devil fruit powers with the Seraphims. Luffy then went on to become even faster in his fight with Doflamingo with Gear 4th Boundman, and his attack speed increased even more in his Gear 4th Snake Man form with his fight with Katakuri. And then in Wano, he got speed blitzed and one-shotted in his Gear 4th Boundman form by Kaido. He then trained for 2 weeks to become even faster and stronger and reacted to his attack with Future Sight, but he couldn't fully dodge it. And then he increased his speed yet again to the point where he can not only react to it, but kick Kaido while he's mid-swing. Oh, did I mention that was in his base form, and that was way before his Gear 5th Awakening. Now that Luffy's scaling's out of the way, let's get into the other Straw Hats scaling. Let's start with Zoro and Sanji first, who are the second and third strongest out of the crew, and then scale the rest of the Straw Hats. For Zoro's abilities, Zoro has excellent sword skills, and he can send out powerful air slashes and create tornadoes. He also has Azura, which I don't 100% know if they're illusions, but in this form, Zoro creates 2 other clones of himself holding 3 swords, and he attacks his enemy with 9 total swords. In addition, Zoro has access to all 3 types of Haki, and he has access to 2 of the advanced versions of Haki. Zoro has basic observation Haki, which allows him to sense his enemies and predict where attacks are coming from. Zoro also has regular armament Haki and Reroll, which increases his strength and durability, and with Reroll, he could bypass his enemies' defenses. And since he wielded 3 swords, Zoro had Reroll Haki since the beginning of the time skip due to him applying Haki through his swords. And last but not least, Zoro has basic Conqueror's Haki and Conqueror's Haki Infusion. This means Zoro can knock out weak enemies and hit enemies with his willpower/spirit without even touching them. However, Zoro just recently started using his Conqueror's Haki, so he's still new to using it. Zoro also can endure a lot of pain, which allows him to take a lot of damage and keep fighting. For strength and durability, Zoro should have at least multi-continental to multi-continental plus levels of AP. If we take a look at some of Zoro's most impressive strength feats, Zoro cut through and lifted the upper body part of Pika's large stone body all the way back in Dressrosa. This feat was calculated at 17.2 teratons of TNT, which is country level. Zoro also cut the large horn off of Onigashima, which was calculated at 1.9 teratons of TNT, or small country level. But Zoro does scale much higher due to him scarring Kaido multiple times, and after he recovered from the rooftop fight, he fought and defeated King. These 2 feats alone put Zoro comfortably at continental levels of AP at the very least, due to Kaido being anywhere between moon level to planet level in terms of AP. Now for Zoro's speed, Zoro should at least be faster than light plus to massively faster than light. One Piece characters have been shown time and time again to dodge light beams and move faster than light. Zoro himself was fast enough to dodge Kuma's pod cannon, which can repel air at the speed of light. Also, he dodged Kuma's light beam, and that was all before the time skip. Now, after the time skip, Zoro is able to react and land a blow on King in his flame off mode, which gives him a massive speed boost. And Zoro's attack speed is incredibly fast, with him being able to speed blitz King and keep up with other high tiers in the verse. Now for Sanji, in terms of abilities, Sanji has quite a few. Sanji has the ability to fly and walk on air. Sanji also has the ability to catch on fire and send fire-based attacks. Sanji also can vanish in front of his enemies due to his speed, and after Wano, Sanji unlocked his genetic powers, which allows him to quickly repair his body. This includes any damage to his bones. Sanji is also very skilled in martial arts and is proficient with his kicks. Sanji used to have the rage suit, and it used to make him invisible and let him fly around and create force fields that protect him from attacks, but he destroyed it, so I guess that doesn't count. However, it did give him a new mode due to it awakening his Germa genes called Ifrit Jambe. Sanji also has 2 forms of Haki, Observation Haki and Armament Haki. Sanji does not currently have King's Haki, but there's a possibility he could get it later on in the story. Also, Sanji isn't confirmed to have the advanced version of observation haki or armament haki, but it was stated that Sanji specializes in observation haki and has the best observation haki out of the crew. Sanji was able to dodge Katakuri's jelly beam attack, which he saw into the future which way Sanji was going to go, and Sanji still dodged it. For AP, Sanji also scales to multi-continental, however it is on the lower end of multi-continental. He really doesn't have any large area of effect feats or any impressive destructive calcs, but he does fight and beat a lot of strong enemies like Oven, Queen, and he even held off Queen and King for a short period of time. So he does scale to their levels of AP. Now for Sanji's speed, which is the most impressive thing about him, Sanji should be massively faster than light to massively faster than light plus. Not only is Sanji dodging and kicking away light beams with ease, but Sanji is also speed blitzing characters like Oven and Queen to the point they can't even perceive him and don't even know what hit them. Sanji might as well be the second fastest in the crew right behind Luffy, if not the first. There's a reason why this saying exists. The fight starts and Sanji disappears. Most characters in One Piece aren't matching him in terms of speed, even the high tier characters. Now let's scale Jimbie, who is the 4th strongest member of the crew, and he should be country level when it comes to AP. He defeated Who's Who is a top ranking Tobiropo, and he also was previously a warlord of the sea. In terms of speed, he should be faster than light plus due to him matching post time skip gear 2nd Luffy in Fishman Island. The other Straw Hats on the other hand range from city level to island level in terms of AP, and in terms of speed are subrealistic to light speed if not a bit faster. Crew members like Frankie, Nami, and Robin have taken down Tobiropo members, and Nami also has Zeus, who was Big Mom's top ranking homie. Zeus casually created the storm around Whole Cake Island, calculated at 180 megatons of TNT, or mountain level. Nami now has full access to Zeus's power, as he is her weapon. And for Frankie, he survived this explosion that destroyed a mountain and is way stronger now after the time skip. He also has his Frankie Shogun, which is bigger and a better version of himself. And for speed, even the weakest Straw Hat members like Usopp and Nami have been shown to dodge and block lightning all the way back in Skypiea. And Nami fought and defeated multiple characters who could straight up outspeed her lightning bolts. And even Chopper in Wano was holding back Queen for a bit and dodging light beams like it was nothing. Now with everyone scaling out of the way, I think it could go both ways. Luffy is a powerhouse and he does have enough power and abilities to take on his entire crew and even defeat them. However, the Straw Hats know all of Luffy's weaknesses, and if they put their mind together, they could overcome enemies who are much stronger than they are. Sanji, Zoro, and Jimbie should be able to hold back Luffy for a moment while the others come up with a plan. Luffy also has a huge stamina problem when it comes to Gear 5th and possibly Gear 4th. Granted, he could use it in his base form in Elbaf. Also, in the fight between Luffy and Usopp, Usopp managed to hold his own against Luffy using his brain power and tricks. Luffy did win in the end, but it still took much longer than expected. This would be the exact same scenario, except instead of Usopp by himself, it's the entire crew, and it's a much stronger version of the crew. Luffy has grown a lot after the time skip and is very powerful, but the Straw Hats have grew a lot too and aren't too far behind. But that's all for this video, guys. If you guys like this video, like and subscribe, and let me know your opinions in the comment section below, and I'm out of here. Peace.